Describe in single words only the good things that come into your mind about your mother.
My mother?
Yeah.
Let me tell you about my mother.
What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
Have you ever been in an institution? Cells.
Cells.
Do they keep you in a cell? Cells.
Cells.
When you're not performing your duties, do they keep you in a little box? Cells.
This causes it. This causes it. This causes it. Information overload. All the electronics around you poisoning the airwaves.
You are listening to the High Tech Low Life podcast, a cyberpunk media retrospective. High Tech Low Life contains language and themes not suitable for all audiences, as well as spoilers for the content being covered. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back to the High Tech Low Life podcast, your home for hot cyberpunk talk on cold cyberpunk nights. I'm your host, Eric, and this is my co-host, Josh.
I'm Josh, and it is very hot here in Kansas City on the 16th of August.
It's a cold cyberpunk night.
Yeah.
We are joined once again, if you listened to last week's episode, you already know what's coming. We are joined by Geoff from the Astronomica podcast.
Hello. Happy to be here on this cool cyberpunk night. My digital sweater is keeping me warm.
Winter cyberpunk. There's something there. I was associated with heat, but there's...
Hey, look, it was winter at the beginning of that Vin Diesel movie we watched.
That's true. They
what
did.
was that called?
I don't remember, but they were like up in the Bering Strait and shit, and it was quite cold.
Yeah.
Snowpiercer is... Well, it's more dystopian, but...
yeah. I think we could stretch
Close
it.
enough we could cover it, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome back. We're doing Idoru. We're doing Idoru.
Idoru.
We're doing Idoru. That's how
Idoru.
William Gibson's second book in the Bridge Trilogy.
So named, as Josh so cleverly pointed out, because one of the characters has a bridge.
Yeah. He has a dental prosthesis.
That honestly hurts still.
That's so good.
It's
a whole week later, and I'm still laughing about that.
Yeah.
Just chuckling all week.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think in the interest of time, we're not going to talk about dystopia. For one thing, nothing's changed since last week for us. I hope nothing's changed in real life, but
I did not check Twitter or Blue Sky, so possibly something huge has changed.
Well, especially
not even the almighty God could make something bad happen between August 21st and August 28th.
Oh God, I love it when you say that. Let's hope. If there is, talk to us on Blue Sky or Twitter, and we'll talk about dystopia with you. And we're also not going to do recommendos, because those form the real tangents that we just don't have time for.
Yeah.
So we recommend listen to music. It's good.
It's good.
Yeah.
Read books.
Read books. Watch movies.
Read books, watch movies, and of course,
eat food.
Go to Astronomicon.
Yeah, go to Astronomicon, which is happening
now.
In a day. It's happening tomorrow.
It starts like tomorrow, literally.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. That's where we're going to be, and hopefully we'll still have an episode coming out next week, which we will announce. I don't know. You want to announce it now while Geoff's taking care of business?
Let's go ahead and do that now while Geoff's busy.
We got an email from a listener when I mentioned it last week, and he gave us a bunch of recommendos, most of which actually weren't on our list.
I think the Christopher Lambert one was.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I think Free Jack was too.
Yes.
But I was kind of forgot about it. So since we don't have much time, given we're going to Astronomica, we figured a nice B movie from the 90s would be another fun one to cover. So we're going to do it. We're going to watch Free Jack.
1992, Emilio Estevez, Mick Jagger, Anthony Hopkins, Rene Russo. I have not seen it since it probably very first came out on video. and I remember it as being quite bad.
Yeah. Well, and he says in his email it's not great, but I'm hoping it's. Yeah, he says bad in quotes, so I'm hoping it's got some fun shit in it.
Yeah, I have little hope that it'll be as good as, say, Nemesis or Split Second, but then few movies are. Right?
Split Second has grown to legendary levels in my mind.
It
Honestly,
really has.
It's one of my favorite movies I've watched in the last 5 years. I just can't deny that.
The past few weeks since I've been home from the desert, I've been to a number of like thrift stores and like vintage stock and that type of place.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been keeping my eye open for fucking
hell yes.
Split Second Blu-ray DVD.
If there's 2 copies, get me one.
Yeah, absolutely. Which does remind me that I saw a fucking Johnny Mnemonic Blu-ray for $49.
Good Lord. Used.
Used. Which I've got one. I honestly don't remember if I've ever taken it out of the package.
I don't know.
Should I sell it?
You've got the black and white version. You're probably never going to watch the original version.
Yeah.
Seems like an easy 50 bones.
Hey guys, I'm back. Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, great. Hey, cool.
We filled the time.
We had a phone virus. The hacker man was trying to get at us. But all is well.
Was it Zona Rosa trying to crash your system?
Well, I think we spoke last week about a combination of sophistication and inexperience and
naivety. Yeah.
If a pop-up says "click here to update your antivirus,"
don't
click it.
Yeah, that's a very good note.
All right, Idoru. Idoru. I'm never gonna remember how to pronounce it correctly now.
Idoru.
Cool book. We're gonna talk about the rest of it. We've already done the
episode over.
We're gonna press onward and get through the rest of it in a tight. Who knows how long?
240.
240.
Tight 240. All right. So, okay. So we've been introduced to the main characters, Lainey and Chia Pet,
which
who
is her
mostly
name.
referred to as Chia.
Her full name doesn't come out, I don't think, till near the end.
Yeah.
It's a ways in.
Yeah.
At least. Yeah.
She's mainly called Chia, but yeah, eventually it does come out that she's named after an infomercial, basically, right?
Which
a commercial that her mom saw on TV.
Which
when
there
she
were
was unfamiliar with the English language.
Yeah. There were so many of them in those days.
Again, like Virtual Light, this is one of Gibson's funnier books. Like the outright humor is great.
I had that feeling, but my narrator was so humorless. Like I was listening to some of the stuff, especially like with the Russian in the end. I'm like, this is probably would be funnier if I was reading it and not like being served it in this humorless, joyless voice.
Yeah, there is some very funny shit with that Russian in the end.
I tried to on my second time through, I tried to put it in that light rather than in the ultra serious way he was presenting it. And I think you're right that this is one of the funnier ones that we've covered.
It's I mean, just like even like the meeting with Blackwell, like you've got this terrifying, mountain of meat of a man, Blackwell, and then he's sitting next to Shinya Scooter Yamazaki, who barely reaches the level of the table. Like,
he's writing everything
looking
down.
up at Lainey,
who is a tiny Japanese dork who is interested in what's his
existential
sociology.
That's it. Yeah.
Existential sociology. And then Lainey, who is some fucking bullshit nonsense data cruncher from mid-America wearing knockoff Brooks Brothers. I mean, it's truly a wild scenario if you picture it in your head in a Kafka themed bar.
Surrounded by mandibles and resin carapaces.
It's a really funny book, and I think that's something that people miss about Gibson a lot. He has a very fucking solid sense of humor. that I think some people just somehow don't read. I mean,
the genre he works in is often, there's not a lot of humor in it. So I don't know if people just don't expect it or what. I don't. There's definitely been funny parts in some of the books we've gone over, but I think this one does probably have the most.
Yeah.
Even if it was hard for me to spot at first.
Yeah. I mean, it's especially funny because I mean it's the Sprawl trilogy really, but he is one of the genre defining authors for cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Like, unquestionably one of, and many people would say the founder. I'd say
could have that
in
argument,
aggregate,
but it's a pointless argument.
Yeah, I think that's accurate, and that I mean there is a shitload of humor in the Sprawl trilogy, but I think people like founders to not be funny, and they especially people tend to take punk as grimdark, which. I mean, I think they're also reading a lot of grimdark stuff wrong.
True,
but
grimdark is actually pretty funny a lot of times too.
I mean, it certainly can be.
I mean, like Warhammer, the canonically darkest of grim, was started as basically a tongue-in-cheek joke by the Games Workshop guys.
It's horrible bullshit satire of nightmares.
Yeah,
I mean, it's great. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think people miss that a lot because they feel like anything serious should be taken seriously. And I think that anything serious should be taken very lightly because otherwise all we do is cry. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. Anyway, on with the plot. So we get some more Laney backstory. We find out about this orphanage, the 5SB that he gets dosed with, and he backstory gets this job at Datamerica, and his audition for this job is researching some fucking random sometime porno actor who supplies fucking steroids and Iraqi fetal tissue to a very cool band called the Dukes of Nukem.
Yeah.
Who, in my mind, perform an entirely non-ironic version of Saddam Agogo by Gwar.
I remember that.
Yeah. It appeared in Empire Records. Sean, shout out. I know Sean loves Empire Records. So he gets this job working for Datamerica. And specifically a program called Slit Scan, which is a photography technique, which is very fun and interesting.
Great name for a TMZ knockoff company.
It really is.
Knockoff before it existed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly fucking TMZ as far as I can tell.
It's like if TMZ was a megacorp unto itself, which it is, I guess, but
yeah, I think it kind of is.
If TMZ somehow owned the Murdoch empire.
Right. Yeah. And it's also more like TMZ, like circa 2009 or something, not necessarily the TMZ of today, which I feel like has fallen off a little bit from their height.
Yeah. Who watches TV anymore?
Well, yeah. Plus the celebrity, I don't know, that celebrity culture was really peaking in the early 2000s. And it's just different now. It's not as, I don't know. It just seems different. There's no Gawker anymore. There's TMZ and Perez Hilton and all that stuff has kind of faded out a little bit.
The nightmare sewer of Perez Hilton.
Yeah. Although they're still out there. I think they're on TikTok.
I'm sure. I believe it. So he ends up with number one, a manager named Kathy, who seems very cool and normal. And is definitely not exactly the same character that Barry was fucking in Virtual Light.
Yeah. Is it the same character?
It is not. I had to verify that.
Yeah. No, but there's another inversion. Like Lane, like they got drunk once and messed around, but he's basically uninterested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really like the parallels between these two.
Yeah, it's it's very interesting when you put the books next to each other, which
you would on a shelf because they are chronologically in order.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the jackets aren't the same color, so they go in different shelves.
Oh,
that's true. The Idoru jacket is white and Virtual Light is black. So
inversions, man, it's all inversions.
It is shit. I'm talking first printing US, okay? Come on. What are we, animals? What are we, farmers dealing with paperbacks? So he ends up getting assigned to this celebrity who this celebrity's fucking random woman named Allison Shires, and she's clearly not important to anything. She's having an affair with him, and Lainey comes to think that she realizes she's being observed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not important and definitely won't come back later. Until I'm going to skip the Chia Pet chapter.
That's fine. You kind of go in chunks that make sense.
Yeah, she's Allison Shires is going to kill herself. Lainey notices he does large aggregate data pattern recognition, I guess.
Yeah.
And finds that, she made a purchase at a hardware store, blah, blah, blah. It's blades for a package opener. And then draws the conclusion that she's going to kill herself. So he, like a psycho, understandably, drives to her house in the middle of the night, or her apartment, enters her fucking security code.
Because he knows it.
Because obviously he's figured it out, because he is a savant in terms of nodal points, and gets in, and she missed the artery, and he's trying to save her, and then she blows her brains out.
Another parallel with Rydell's Fall from Grace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very similar.
Yeah, so...
God, I hadn't put that together, how similar their stories were.
Yeah, they really are, and Rydell's a loser. He's just a Tennessee fucking hick.
No offense.
Laney's like, with zero self-awareness, is like, oh, look at this chump. He got set up with a bad job.
Yeah.
And then he's doing the exact
Yeah, Lainey's self-awareness is minuscule, like sub-microscopic. It's honestly impressive.
Hey, sorry you got fucked over by the producers of Cops in Trouble, but I'm built different.
Yeah, exactly.
Slits Cannon never do that to me.
Yeah.
The leopards would never eat my face. It's also important to note, we kind of mentioned it, that this whole, first half of the book, Lainey's story is just him recounting his life to Blackwell and Yamazaki.
Or thinking back on it, like reminiscence triggered by the conversation.
Yeah. It's probably a third, but yeah,
it was kind of confusing listening on audiobook because, like I said, you get distracted, and I was like, that's why I started listening to it again, just so I could make sure I had it all straight. But yeah, it's
well, it's presented. It's an interesting. He's kind of playing with the form a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's presented as an actual flashback reminiscence. And then when he gets to a sort of pause in the story, like Blackwell cuts in the middle of the action. He's like, right, so you just saw the bird. What you do next? Bang,
right.
There you were.
That's pretty good.
That's
pretty close to the way my narrator did his voice.
Lainey says it felt like gravity. And then Blackwell says, that's what it feels like when you decide.
Yeah, I love that on my second read through too. The way you could point out at Blackwell's journey through Lainey's journey, which is very interesting.
So there is an argument to be made. It's not one that I sincerely hold, but it's interesting that Lainey was obsessed with Allison Shires in a 5SB triggered state.
Well, I was going to bring that up, yeah.
Because you only have his assurance that she did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was there in a fever dream that he's confused about and can't quite remember the details of.
You are 1000% correct. That is something that I thought of in, I don't know, 1997, 1998, on my, second or third read through of this book. And my realization that, oh, fuck, Laney is an unreliable narrator.
Yeah, he is.
And then, spoiler alert, it maybe gets worse in All Tomorrow's Parties.
Maybe.
I hope.
Maybe.
I hope he's not, because I like Laney. I don't want him to be a murderer stalker. But it also wouldn't surprise me if it turns out that was the case.
And what we're talking about here is that somewhere later, probably 2/3 of the way through the book, it's revealed that the 5SB that Laney was, quote marks, treated with for his ADHD, etc., had a number of side effects, including leading a large percentage of the males that it was administered to become psychotic stalkers and attempted murderers of famous people and politicians.
I think an argument of that not being the case is that he didn't seem to have any of those compulsions he's around a lot of famous people later, and he doesn't seem to have any of those compulsions towards Rez or Lo or the lady whose name I refuse to pronounce.
Well, no, he literally can't look at Ray.
Yeah, true.
It triggers his nodal. Yeah. And he starts watching music videos.
Well, to the point where like the other people at the table while he's eating comment on it. They're like, wow, you're really into those chopsticks, huh?
Yeah.
Because he can't even look near her or he'll get sucked in.
I thought that was part of the tech/drug aspect of it more than, I don't know, his mental health aspect. I mean, I don't know.
Like I said, I'm not gonna say that this is the one. I'm not taking a Reddit position that this is the one true secret.
It's /cyberpunk.
Yeah.
I'll just say it's not cyberpunk, and then won't talk about it.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's definitely worth discussing. It's important. Like Josh said, he's an unreliable narrator.
Yeah, and in fact, you never see really any concrete, hard evidence that he can actually analyze nodal points.
Yeah.
Like he tells you that Kathy was impressed by his interpretation of this researcher, or he tells Blackwell that. But
yeah.
If he is truly an unreliable narrator, and again, so, I don't know. The fact that there is a hint of ambiguity about it makes the book more interesting to me. I don't think that's true. I think he really is straight up, some kind of...
I think he is 100% giving the truth to the best of his ability.
Right.
How much of his ability is clouded by stalker psychosis is up for, that's up for question.
Right.
I take this book as it lies, I guess.
Yeah.
Especially in contrast to All Tomorrow's Parties.
Which we're not contrasting because I haven't read it.
Yeah. God, we got to get on that.
We're going to do that one in a tight 480.
Yeah. All right. Are you ready to go back to Chia?
Okay. Yes, I can do Chia. Okay. So Chia gets on a plane in Seattle.
Because another one of my favorite characters is about to make an entrance.
Oh, I knew you would love this lady.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Chia gets on a plane in SeaTac.
This book just has such great secondary characters. I mean, its first characters are kind of boring.
So does. And well,
I
don't think they're boring at all, but the second characters just pop.
There's so many strong ones. like almost all of them. There's not really I guess Scooter's kind of... He's the same boring guy he was in the first book.
Scooter's doing exactly what he's supposed to do.
Right.
And knowing a lot of fucking like cultural anthropologists, which is really what Scooter's doing.
Yeah.
He is exactly cultural anthropologists.
But everyone in the band, everyone involved with the walled city, everybody, all the criminals, I love them all. They're just so fun.
Yeah. Hey, turns out William Gibson pretty good at making a compelling world and characters to fill it.
We'll see. Let's do a few more books before I believe it.
Okay.
He's still under a provisional approval.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Chia gets on a plane at SeaTac. She's following a woman through customs who, she's got these terrible extensions in her hair and feeds one of the extensions into the DNA testing, as she's boarding the plane. Whatever. Not important. Definitely won't come back later.
Yeah.
She gets onto the suborbital and turns on her sandbenders. And this is when we, first get real hint of what sandbenders is, which is something that I've been chasing for 30 fucking years now. The sandbenders is her deck / desktop computer / laptop
/ virtual reality.
Virtual boy.
Virtual boy.
Yeah. It's made by Indians or people in a commune. It's
definitely not a cult.
Definitely not a cult. We get into it further later in the book, but it's, in my mind, the coolest looking computer that you can't describe in the world. It's made out of canvas, like an old water bag from fucking World War II or World War One.
Hand cast aluminum ingots.
Yeah. I can't even accurately describe how it's pictured in my mind, but it's the coolest thing I've ever seen, and it's something I've been looking for since 1996. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, when I first read this, let's see. Yeah, so I was about 14 or 15 when I first read this book.
Yeah.
And Sandbenders indelibly stamped itself in my mind. I wanted it.
It's a cool name for one thing.
I think that was one of our early interactions. Was I made a passing reference to a Sandbenders joke, and Josh, you said "Oh, good pull," and I was like, "Wow, no one picks up on."
I believe it.
I think I remember that.
That's entirely possible.
All right, it's a cool computer.
It's a very cool looking computer. I think it's the important thing about this for this book.
So immediately she starts befriending Mary Alice, right?
Yeah.
No, she tries to ignore Mary Alice.
Sorry. Immediately Mary Alice starts taking an interest in her is what I meant to say.
Well, taking an interest, but also Mary Alice. So this is one of those things where Chia is savvy enough to just want to do her own thing.
Right.
Yeah. But she's sitting next to Mary Alice, who is drinking iced tomato juice.
Yeah.
Yes.
With celery in it.
Weird, right? Never heard of that.
So Chia obviously doesn't recognize that she is getting just shithouse wasted. And there's a whole log cabin, I think was what he said, of celery sticks on the seatback tray.
Yeah.
She is just blitzed.
She is bloody marrying to her heart's
with
content.
Tequila though, not vodka.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is is that a Prairie Fire? What's the?
I think that's what it's called. Yeah. It's not something I drink. I don't fuck with tomato juice, but
I do love a Bloody Mary. Isn't this the same chapter where we get a look inside the Sandbenders and we get to meet her music master?
We plug in and head into Venice and the music master, which you'll all be very surprised to find that I am enchanted with.
Who looks like a certain slim, tall British musician, legally distinct from David Bowie. It's not him at all.
Yeah. Weirdly, they had to change the color of one of his eyes. I don't know. It's unclear. They had to change one of his eyes to not get sued. Yeah. And he knows everything about music.
Well, music that has been released up to the point he's been updated.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is another weird Gibson's prescience.
I know
when you're chatting with ChatGPT and you ask it about something It's like, I'm sorry, my training data does not include anything more recent than September 2021 or whatever the epoch is. For it.
Well, plus just the concept of automatic updates. Like, I'm sure it existed in some form in 1996, but it wasn't like common parlance.
God damn. I mean, shit, 1996, it was, okay, look, Windows 95, that certainly wasn't built to automatically do automatic updates. I mean, nobody assumed you had a full-size regular internet connection then.
Right. Yeah, I was listening to that thinking, because they were talking. She mentions at some point how, I think it was her music master, that updates automatically when she connects to the net. And I'm like, that's actually really forward thinking for 1996, because the net wasn't really used in that way back then.
We didn't have the fucking bandwidth.
We had to. Connecting was an event. It wasn't something that was always happening.
We were busy doing fucking whatever the fuck her name is and her friends.
I can tell you exactly what I was doing in 1996 on the internet, and it comes into play in a little bit in this story. Because my 1996 was spent almost
negotiating
entirely...
trade deals with Russians.
Yes, exactly. No, I was building a nanotech city. No, I spent the entirety of 96 either in a multi-user dungeon dimension or desperately wanting to get back to a multi-user dimension.
Yeah, or in MIRC trying to get back into fucking
I think 96
ancient anguish.
Well, I think it was 95 when I was in AA, but that was like even pre-IRC, where I spent all my fucking time playing in a text-based game, and was as obsessed with it as the kid is that we'll get to in a minute. Sorry, I jumped the gun. But the timing of it just blew my mind, because it's like, holy shit, that's what I was doing. I was this kid.
Yeah.
He also, like, he absolutely nailed like a teenager on the plane is just gonna want to zone out on her phone, like, and say as little as possible to get out of conversation with the boring weird adult next to her. And also just like the airport scene, like leading up to this, sorry, just to jump back a little bit, but like he talks about how there was a slot for the passport and it's like connecting with the
and the clear
database.
Tape on it.
Yeah, it's been lined with clear tape that's like peeling up. Like that's such a visceral note.
Again, turns out he's a good writer who is observant of the world and is good at describing it.
Yeah, we are not good reviewers, though, because we are running out of time. So
sorry. So she zones out, and the plane goes on.
It eventually gets to Tokyo. Mary Alice, who was the lady with the extensions, and seems like kind of a hick, like hands her a bag and is like, "Hey, can you carry this for a second? And I gotta go take a piss or something."
An example of Chia's extreme naivete, because
no
adult would carry someone else's bags through customs.
It's clearly somebody doing a fucking scam.
I was like sweating bullets on her behalf. As I was going through that part.
Yeah, so Chia clears customs. It's fine. Then this dude named Eddie appears, who I assume is Eric's, like, I don't know, third favorite character in the book.
Eddie's fine. Eddie's kind of sucks. I much prefer Mary Alice.
Eddie does suck very much, but he's a
scumbag.
He is another in the long line of Gibson's shitty and shifty boyfriends.
Yeah.
Like, this is a guy that appears in at least every other William Gibson book.
Yeah.
He really reminded me of the boyfriend from Mona Lisa Overdrive.
I was going to say, Mary Alice reminds me a little bit of Mona.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
she's got more on the ball. She's a lot smarter than than Mona, but still, She even looks like a celeb. She looks like Ashley Modine Carter. Whoever that is.
Ashley Modine Carter, yeah. So, it turns out this guy's a shitbag. Even though it's not explicitly stated he's a shitbag, he is evident as a shitbag from, like, sentence 1.
Yeah, wearing skinny jeans or something.
Yeah, wearing, like, skinny jeans and a fucking cowboy hat, and is, giving him a ride to the city in what what I imagine to be a stretch F-150 Laramie
Yeah.
Rawhide King Ranch Edition limo.
Through a Toyota filled with the tiniest Priuses.
Yeah.
Or through Tokyo, not Toyota.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just the biggest piece of shit known to man. And, like, seemingly pretty honest about it.
Yeah.
Like, he's just, he's, like I said, another in the long line of scumbag William Gibson boyfriends.
And he owns a bunch of clubs.
Yeah. Owns clubs. He, ended up in Tokyo after the quake and just made a killing somehow. So Chia gets a ride into the city, and we get the first appearance of Ray Toei in the book on a billboard.
Oh, really? I don't remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, she appears on a billboard advertising her new album. And this is the AI / Idoru that Rez is going to marry.
Well, we don't know for sure yet. We haven't established. Surely the local Tokyo chapter of the fan club
will know what to do.
Great help.
Yeah, they'll definitely be a huge help.
That's one thing that was like, why does she have to travel to Tokyo to talk to these people? Can't you just do it online? I know that would ruin the story, but
yeah, as dumb as that sounds, yeah, coming to Japan to be in their chat room is a huge important step.
It's worth pointing out, and I cannot get us on another tangent, but this virtual reality internet that William Gibson imagined in 1996 is what I hoped the future internet would be. Not what it became. Not even like what Trouble and Her Friends imagined it. This is more accurate to how I imagined it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're 100% right. I assumed that in the year of our Lord, let me check, 2024, yes, I would be strapping goggles to my face and be in a fully immersive environment, possibly in a jungle with some lizards and condors flying overheads.
Well, now with the Meta Quest Oculus, you can.
No, you can't do that, but you can go to work.
Yeah,
you go to the office.
The one thing everybody wants, to be able to be in a conference room with a bunch of other work doinks.
Oh, they really didn't get it. How far forward on the Chia storyline should we go before we jump in?
I'm gonna go just a little bit more.
Okay.
So, Chia gets to Eddie's club. It's extremely cool. And everything is normal there. There's definitely a Japanese guy from Tacoma who's like, what the fuck are you doing here? And she's like, let me get... Mary Alice tells her to get washed up and go to the bathroom and stuff, and she does so. And then this Japanese guy from SeaTac, or from Tacoma, says, get the fuck out of here, dude. This shit's... like, there is some weird shit going on here. He's a DJ, and he has figured out that she is, quote, not involved in whatever the fuck is going on. Chia, at this point, realizes there's something to be involved in, although that escapes her brain almost instantly.
The screaming and breaking glass is a clue.
Yeah, there's a off-screen fight between Eddie and Mary Alice. And Chia fucking bails and hits the fucking streets of Tokyo.
Oh, and the Tacoma guy gives her a little tip straight from Chevette. Go to the freight elevator. It takes you straight to the garage, and there's no camera.
That is absolutely right. I hadn't made that connection, but yes, Calvin, the Japanese guy from Tacoma, tells her take the freight elevator. It goes straight down.
He's a nice guy. He's one of the rare, just good people.
Yeah.
He's just like a dude who's like, I don't know, the shit seems fucking weird. I'm used to their cons, but
why is there a child here?
Yeah, why is there a 14-year-old? So then we get back to Lainey. Lainey has given his whole backstory. Alison Shire's killing herself, felt like gravity, etc. he ends up getting bailed out of jail by a, quote, counter-investigative journalism show, which is one of the most dystopic things I have ever, one of the most dystopic sentences I've ever read.
Yeah.
And I never even realized it until this sentence. But it is a show related to, as we remember from Virtual Light, Cops in Trouble.
It's not yet.
Yeah. He gets installed, and Laney gets installed at the Chateau Marmot because he's been exploited and he's about to get fucked over by these slit-skinned guys. And ends up meeting Barry Rydell, who we all remember and love from Virtual Light, who is, of course, working as a fucking 9-to-5 security guard.
Yeah. After all those exciting events, I guess you still got to eat at the end of the day. So he just got a job doing what he does best.
Yep, that's what he can do. Apparently, he was on some reality. He was maybe on some reality show or something.
Had something going on cable sometime way back.
Yeah. And Barry is the one who recommends him for the job. And we're still in like flashback shit. And at this point, Scooter asks about Barry and says that, and Laney says like, oh, he's all right, I guess. And Scooter says something along the lines of, he is a brave man.
Yeah.
And we're like, there's an entire book behind that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Scooter, like, and everybody just moves on from it. Like, he is a brave man, and that's the entirety of Virtual Light in this book.
Yeah, there's a little more later when Barry starts to tell him about some involvement he had with Russians, but then they get distracted and he can't finish the story.
Yeah. So then after that, Blackwell gives his thoughts on brave men.
Yeah.
And in his mind, brave men involve a 1.5-inch galvanized roofing nail.
Who's playing Blackwell in the film adaptation in your mind of this?
Carl Urban.
Oh.
Like a roided out Carl Urban.
Oh,
I was gonna say Batista.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Dave Batista would be perfect.
Yeah.
Carl Urban would be really fucking good. I had not thought of that, but
He's not like hulking and huge, but he's
yeah. Well, he's gotten certainly a fucking lot more so than he used to be.
The reason I say Batista is because he's described as hulking and huge, but he's also described as super graceful and constantly
That's
saying
true.
how he's flowing into a room and in and out of chairs and stuff. And I feel like an ex-wrestler would have a little of that going on.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think either of those would be thoroughly adequate.
Yeah.
I also think the guy's not necessarily he has the physicality, if not the acting ability, but the guy that played Sir Gregor Mormont in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
His name is like Thorson or something like that. Bjorn Thorson, I think.
Yeah, something close to that.
But yeah, he'd need to really up the acting chops there.
Yeah. He's got to do more than stand around and look cool.
Yeah. I have the passage with the nail highlighted. I just love
good. I was trying to look that up, and I have too many goddamn highlights. Feel free to read it.
All right. When Blackwell spoke, Laney was unexpectedly aware of another sort of intelligence, something the man must ordinarily conceal. Nah, Blackwell said, almost gently. It fucking well isn't, is it? One large, pinkly jigsawed hand, like some clumsy animal in its own right, began to root in the taut breast pocket of Blackwell's micropore, producing a small gray metallic object that he placed on the bar. Now that's a nail, Blackwell said. Galvanized, 1.5-inch, roofing. I've nailed men's hands to bars like this with nails like that, and some of them were right bastards. There was nothing at all of threat in Blackwell's voice, and some of those, you nail their one hand, the other comes up with a razor or a pair of needle-nosed pliers. Blackwell's forefinger absently founded an angry-looking scar beneath his right eye, as though something had entered there and been deflected along the cheekbone. To have a go, right? Pliers? Bastards, Blackwell said. You have to kill him then. Now, that's one kind of brave, Laney. What I mean is, how's that so different from what you tried to do to Slit Scan? I didn't just want them to let it drop, to let her settle to the bottom, be forgotten. I didn't really care how badly Slit Scan got hurt, or even if they were damaged or not. I wasn't thinking of revenge as much as a way of keeping her alive. There's other men. You nail their hand to the table, they'll sit there and look at you. That's a true hard man, Laney. Do you think you're one of those? Laney looked from Blackwell to the empty bourbon glass, back to Blackwell. The bartender moved as if to refill it, but Laney covered it with his hand. If you nail my hand to the bar, Blackwell, and here he spread his other hand flat, palm down on the dark wood, the drink-ringed varnish. I'll scream, okay? I don't know what any of this is about. You might be crazy, but what I most definitely am not is anybody's idea of a hero. I'm not now, and I wasn't back there in LA.
Yeah.
I love, like, there's so much, like, Gibson is just such a master of exposition without, like, there's a whole fucking life that Blackwell has lived.
There are 100 novels in that 3-4 paragraphs. I mean, 5 paragraphs.
And Lady gives the perfect answer.
Yeah. For Laney, yeah. Like, I'm not a hard man. I'm a soft man.
Yeah, I am scared of you. You are terrifying.
I feel like 1.5 inches isn't long enough, though.
I think 1.5 inches is perfectly fine to nail somebody's hand to a bar.
I mean, you got to get, like, up by the knuckle. I'm just looking at my hand. If you go too far back, it's not getting through to the bar. Like, I got an 1.5 inch thick hand.
You pound it through.
Yeah.
You countersink that shit.
It's not that the hammer
didn't
is
say
not
he has a
trying
punch.
to hit your hand.
Yeah.
I just think
then Blackwell reached in his other pocket. Now this here is a center punch.
You got to countersink that roofing nail to get it beneath the surface, so you can properly fill it with silicone caulk so the rain doesn't get in.
Now you're gonna want to eye the bar. If it's an open grain wood, you're gonna want a ring shank nail a little longer.
Oh, anyway, yeah. What a fucking line of literature that is.
And, sorry for inflicting my Australian accent on everyone, but
no, it was as good or better than the one I listened to on my audio.
Yeah, and I feel you certainly did no worse, and possibly no better than I would have. And I was looking for it to read that shit. So,
I also love. He doesn't even go into a story about it. He just happens to have a pocket-sized meat cleaver in his other pocket.
Yep.
Well, yeah, who doesn't?
He's like a Shadowrun character.
Doesn't work. Yeah.
He really is, and that's why. Okay, I'm going to come back to this in just a second. Like right now, just right after what Geoff read, Blackwell explains the plot driver of the entire novel, like a full quarter of the way in. Rez is going to marry a girl who doesn't exist. Keith Blackwell thinks that this is means he's being controlled, possibly by the Combinat, which is the Ruffian Mafia. And Laney has been hired to figure out who it is, and then Blackwell will, quote, well and truly sort them out.
Yeah, he says that a couple times. It's like his catchphrase.
Yeah, that's kind of his thing. He wants to sort things out.
Yeah.
He wants things to be clear and defined.
And possibly in several more parts than they were beforehand.
Also true. He wants to be able to sort their parts into bins. This is why Blackwell is, like, this is probably a big portion of why this is one of the novels that you remember me name-checking a lot.
Yeah.
Because while I think I've spent a good portion of my life trying to be Blackwell, and like wishing I was as hard as Blackwell, I'm probably a lot more of a fucking Laney.
Or Scooter.
Yeah,
he was
Scooter.
There, that whole scene, he's just sitting there taking notes.
But I wish I was Blackwell.
Yeah, you made some Shadowrun characters that were pretty Blackwell.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of glad I've got all my original teeth and both ears.
Yeah,
there are some trade-offs.
They are.
Me too. On the other hand, I do own a tomahawk. So.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. Where are we at? We've got to hustle this shit along. I know I keep
Well, we're
saying
a solid 30% of the way through the book.
Is there anything we can gloss over?
So I think the next big story beat is the meeting with the Tokyo chapter.
Yes. There's also a little bit which ties into Virtual Light about Laney getting checked into a hotel after it's officially hired. It is a, quote, traditional building because some find the nanotechnology upsetting.
Yeah, I really loved the nanotech buildings, dude. Like, I want to put them in a future cyberpunk game. I think the concept is so fucking cool.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Also, which will run into, another third of the way through the book, the traditional buildings that survived the quake with their giant epoxy patches and things like that running through the stairwells. That's a lived-in world. It's not a brand new Star Trek.
Yeah.
You know, it's a real world.
His version of Tokyo is such a great backdrop for a story, and it's aided by the allusions they made to it in Virtual Light. And then you actually get to go to it. I don't know. I was in love with the setting, and I'm not a particular Japanophile or anything like that, but just the way it's presented. I love. It's not post-apocalyptic, but it kind of is.
Yeah. It's at one point it's described as like Giger's Prince of New York.
Yeah.
H.R. Giger. Hey, really, Giger?
A comparison, actually,
of Aliens fame.
Some of the planets you guys visit in Astronomica have similar vibes too, where it's like, it was thriving, it got destroyed, now it's being built back again. I don't know. There's a lot of depth there to mine for vibes, I guess.
Yeah. Or fart jokes.
Also true. So after he's checked into the hotel, he gets a phone call from Barry Rydell, who says that it turns out that Kathy Torrance, his former manager, moved into the room at the chateau that Laney had been in with a shitload of equipment and a bunch of techs. Wonder if that'll come back. Don't worry about it. So then, moving on, Chia meets the Tokyo chapter. The president, Hiromi, who's a little chubby, as determined by International Girl Code.
Yeah. But she's like a pretty fucking cool robot in Virtual World.
Yeah. Basically, it's a terribly, deathly boring meeting.
Yeah, it was kind of boring reading it, but I know that was intentional.
Yeah.
They have a 45-minute recounting of the history of the founding of the club.
Yeah.
And then they ask Chia to regale them with the history of her club.
And she very cleverly says, yeah, they got fucked up by the scanners at the airport, so I'm sorry, I don't have the full data for that. Which I personally know at least 4 different people who have used that same line when presenting at conferences. Presenting at academic conferences. Like, I don't know, my USB is like all fucked up. So anyway, here's some slides. Let me run you through it.
Yeah. It's weird. It made my USB slides look hastily prepared. I don't know how a scanner does that.
Weird. And if you looked at the metadata, I definitely didn't finish this 35 minutes ago right now.
I also really love, this is it's a good character note for Chia. A, that she is so quick on the ball, to think about a quick, excuse out. But B, she knows what's going on instantly. She picks up on it.
She's good at this. Yeah.
And she is on her own. She's jet lagged. She's in literally and figuratively a foreign country. She doesn't know the lay of the land, but she instantly figures out a way to wrong foot Hiromi and instantly completely catch her off guard and take control.
Yeah.
And it's great.
Yeah.
It's another way that this book subverts the expectation of like, like the earnest teenage fan, super fan, is going to finally get it about 45 pages after the reader does. Frustratingly, like, no, like Gibson's like, this is a smart kid. She figures it out.
No, she's a fucking bright girl, and she knows instantly, like, oh, okay, so she's Hiromi is clearly being fed everything from the publicity department of the band.
Yep.
I mean,
yeah, and there's no point in dragging this out when there's info to be gained by getting boots on the ground.
Yeah, it's exactly like a conspiracy or a courtroom movie. You get somebody on the stand and suddenly find out that, oh, they've been gotten to.
Yeah.
And she shifts instantly after she realizes that point. She's like, okay, fuck off. I guess you've got it all under control. Bye. and bails out of the meeting, and then is abused by Zona Rosa. So after Chia leaves the meeting, she gets hijacked and dragged into Zona Rosa's personal environment, domain,
country,
I guess.
Don't they call
hijacked Corpo website?
Yeah.
And as we have mentioned before, Zona is super cool. She is a blue glowing Aztec skull with a fucking switchblade and lizards that are cryptography and condors. I don't know.
Or pterodactyls, maybe even. Terror birds? Who knows?
I had never thought of that. I always pictured them as condors. But yeah.
She's very quick-tempered.
Yeah. So...
I also love, you carried a stranger's bag through customs?
Yeah. I'm glad she said it, because I wanted to say it to Chia.
It's 100... Yeah, it's the dumbest... It's the most naive fucking thing a human could do. But also... I mean,
when you're a kid and an adult tells you to do something, you fucking do it. Like,
I feel like I would have been smarter than that at,
I don't
14.
think I would have been.
But I don't know.
Especially in a pre-9/11 world.
Yeah. That's the big one.
Yeah,
that's also true. I wonder how that hits for kids these days.
Our kids won't even pick up our bags at the airport.
Yeah. But this is where we're introduced to the brother, right? Whose name I'm not going to say because...
Masahiko.
Okay, that's pretty much how he said it.
Yeah.
That one's harder to mess up.
Yeah, it is. So, Masahiko is the local representative's brother that Chia is staying with. And we get introduced to the concept of the walled city, which is certainly not something that carries a lot of metaphoric freight.
Yeah, and is also a very popular cyberpunk concept these days.
Yeah.
Shadowrun did a video game.
Well, and it's basically the dark web. Like that's kind of how
it really is.
Tor sites run, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The walled city, in the terms of this novel, is a dark web site that began as a kill file turned inside out and then modeled in terms of the dark city of Kowloon, or walled city of Kowloon, which is incredible. And if you haven't seen photography and artwork of it, I seriously recommend you look for it.
Another nice parallel with the bridge.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Similar.
It is very much the bridge,
except it's virtual in the book.
And then in the book, these people and the walled city eventually, in reality, the walled city went away in 92. I want to say, ish, right about the time that mainland China reclaimed Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And the walled city was built in remembrance in the web ? Sorry, I'm getting mixed up between my reality web and my Gibson web.
Yeah.
So, dark web walled city was built up in memory of the real walled city, with geography being the thing, which is sort of important, especially when you consider going back to another book we reviewed with Geoff, where the metaverse is a 3 million mile, as I recall, in diameter fucking sphere, where it's just an endless amount of real estate all around one highway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the opposite of that. It is constrained to the real physical dimensions in virtual reality of the walled city. So real estate actually has value, as opposed to the nonsense value that people apply to the metaverse, in quote marks, in our reality, and I hate it and I want to die. Right?
I follow. I don't know if anybody follows, because when the combination of metaverses and webs and dark webs and walled cities and virtual walled cities, it gets real confusing real fast.
I'm sorry.
Look, you got to have a virtual room to keep your bored apes.
Yes,
yes,
that is correct. And those apes, man,
They can only go up in value.
My apes have been stolen.
They do make frequent statement that the walled city is a multi-user dimension, which is a real thing. Like I said,
it is very specifically a mud.
I spent so much time playing muds, one mud in particular, and Ancient Anguish. It still exists, and my character still exists too. And it is like, I was obsessed. I guess you could call me otaku at the time.
Well, shout out to the early Memphis BBS Shadowscape, which had a couple of muds on it, but mostly you would hang out in the pre-IRC dial-up chat.
And Masahiko, is that how Masahiko or T?
Yeah, that's right.
I've only heard it. I've never seen it. Was definitely living the smelly, dirty teen boy life that I was.
Oh
living.
Yeah.
I was always fairly clean, but the way that his room is described is upsettingly accurate.
Yeah, I remember your room. I think I was in it once or twice. It is pretty accurate.
Yeah, like a bunch of bullshit stuck to the walls, piles of clothes. I mean, fucking nonsense.
Yeah. I like how Chia described it too, as like teen boy. His room was very boy like, or whatever.
Yeah, there's a really good line that she says about that.
Yeah, so that pretty much brings us. She's been introduced to Walled City, just kind of in passing, and then they're off to go find the club, the Monkey Fight Club, or whatever it's called.
Monkey boxing.
Yeah.
Yes. So Chia gets Masahiko to take her to the Monkey Boxing Club, which seems like the coolest place on the planet. Possibly it's fucking DJ'd by the RZA.
Yeah.
You talking about the guy they talked to?
Yes, but also the RZA from Wu-Tang. And it is a Wu-Tang themed, even before it is a Wu-Tang monkey boxing fucking 36 Chambers themed club in Tokyo, which has now been shut down.
Yeah. Clubs don't last long in Tokyo.
Exists. Yeah.
Well, and in this case, it's been shut down specifically by Rez's apparatus.
Yeah,
Yes,
and I just gotta say I fucking love this character because he's like, hey, I signed an NDA, so I can't tell you, and then proceeds to say everything that he's not allowed to say.
But you're not recording this, right?
Yeah.
This guy is my fucking hero.
As long as you're not from a magazine, we're okay.
Yeah. They find out that Rez apparently stepped on stage in the middle of a DJ set, and said he was going to marry this Idoru, and that the world is changing, etc., etc., and it fucking ruined this club, and it has just been bought by Rez's apparatus and shut down, and is now going to be a totally different thing of some sort. Doesn't matter. Not important. This guy moves out of the narrative forever, but he is a very good character, and just a guy who's like, I'm a fucking club promoter in Tokyo. What am I gonna do?
I'm gonna tell
Perfect
a story to this
exposition.
14-year-old.
Yeah.
This CSI style, he's like, hey, I got to move these crates of vinyl while I'm talking to you on your investigation.
Yeah. This is another one that like I realized after the fact, like this was probably meant to be humorous, but the goddamn narrator delivered it so deadpan.
Oh, no, he's a delight. June.
Yeah.
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 I put that together eventually, but
Yeah. We find out that over the course of this that Chia checks her bag and finds out that the smuggled item is not drugs.
no.
Like, we had been suspecting for about 3 chapters that, like, Mary Alice stuck drugs in her bag. And it turns out it's some sort of weird plastic box.
Yeah. Which is funny because she says, later on, she's like, drugs? No, nobody gives a shit about drugs.
Yeah.
I bring those through.
Yeah, not a big deal. But then we move around a little bit in time. And we find out that Lainey gets a warning that Kathy is coming to Japan from Rydell on a Lucky Dragon fax machine.
Rydell's really taken to Lainey.
He's Rydell is a really good guy.
I think he sees some of himself in Lainey, like Geoff
because it's a deliberate parallel.
Yeah. I mean, it's very clearly that.
Yeah.
And Lucky Dragon is something that appeared in Virtual Light and will certainly not appear at any point in Altamara's parties. But Rydell is now working night security at a Lucky Dragon convenience store on Ventura.
You guys got to work.
Yeah,
got fired from Chateau Mormont for fraternizing.
Yeah,
fraternizing with the guests. So then Arlie McRae, who becomes a decent-sized character in the second half of the book, who is low-res tech support, shows up and basically says, hey, you're Lainey, right? Okay, here, we got this thing set up in a van for you downstairs. It's access to all the low-res corporate data.
I feel like Gibson did a good job of describing this tech team. I don't know why. I could really picture them I'd seen them in a movie before.
Yeah, they are every fucking guitar tech, roadie, etc. I have ever met for a band.
Yeah, he doesn't really elaborate on it, but there is it's very clear that they have this just perfect practiced relationship of working together, each of them plugging the cables in or whatever.
Yeah.
I like that they have a van, and it's the way it's set up is Blackwell goes, right, get all this shit in the van, and Arlie says, we don't have a van, and he goes, well, fucking get one.
Buy a fucking van, you idiots.
Yeah.
We are weirdly a major corporation dedicated to this idiot named Rez.
They make it very clear that money is just simply not a problem for them.
Yeah.
They also make it clear, everyone who talks about Rez talks about how up his own ass he is and what a fucking pretentious doofus.
Yes.
No one who is actually involved with him, has had actual contact with him, has any respect for him whatsoever.
No, Blackwell.
Affection and love, yes, but respect.
But they do not take him seriously at all.
Which I don't know. We can get into it later, but is he really operating on another? The Idoru has respect for him. Obviously, I don't know. We'll get into it when we get further.
I think at a certain point it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, ChatGPT thinks you can make a sandwich as long as you don't use more than 3 tablespoons of glue. So maybe, maybe Gibson nailed some else.
I love the character of Rez. I wish he'd given us a little bit more of Lo, honestly, because Lo is mentioned several times, but we never really get to.
I have always assumed that Lo takes none of this even vaguely seriously.
Well, he says that at some point. Lo felt like this whole experience is just like a lucky thing and just seems to be living his best life. And I don't know. It's just weird that the band's name is Low Res and Lo is almost the drummer gets more attention.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Although,
and it's
Chia seems to prefer low.
maybe to a certain extent. Yeah, I can.
Yeah,
see
he's the
that.
one she talks to in her sim. Like,
Yeah,
he's the one that
yeah.
comes alive in her poster.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
I think interesting because she
Yeah.
eventually interacts with the band.
She's more of a
Well,
George Harrison fan.
Yeah,
Yeah. The thing is, I think the book doesn't steer into it a lot, but I imagine Low Res as very much a kind of Doors or possibly Beatles analog, as you just brought up, where Res is kind of the John Lennon or Jim Morrison,
Mm-hmm.
and Low is much more the George Harrison or Ray Manzarek.
Yeah.
This is the point at which Chia describes to Masahiko, the founder of Sandbenders, and the history of the corporation, I don't know,
Commune.
hardware makers,
Commune,
whatever,
yeah.
commune. Yeah. And mentions, quote, that nerve attenuation thing, which the hardware guy of Sandbenders died of.
Yeah.
Before we figured out how to fix it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So nerve attenuation thing exists in the Johnny Mnemonic movie, but not in the Johnny Mnemonic short story. So does this bring the Johnny Mnemonic movie into canon?
I don't know. My brain hurts.
I think it does. I think J-Bone is out there somewhere.
He is.
And he saved a bunch of people from NAS.
I have a
Snatch
thing
back your brains
in my
people.
head.
Man,
Snatch them back and hold them.
it was quite an Easter egg. It made me happy because I know that
Yeah.
that wasn't in the actual Johnny Mnemonic short story. So
Yeah.
I think that was a nice little Easter egg that he threw out there
Yeah.
for fans.
I do
of
too.
the
He
film.
he just finished the movie. Like it would surely be fresh, or maybe he was working on it
Yeah.
as he was writing it. It would be fresh in his mind for sure.
Well, this
Yeah.
came out in '96. What was?
Mnemonic was
95.
95.
Sorry, not another tangent. All right.
Okay. Yes. Anyway, that's a tangent. So to shoot off on another tangent, Laney talked to Arlie a bunch about how this data isn't like really working for him when he has the res sort of corporate data.
Mm-hmm.
Res is sort of a ghost inside a whole bunch of things that are bought and sold and concert dates that are booked. And
Once
it doesn't
again,
matter.
the rich are not truly human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
even
100%.
unto their digital soul.
Yeah.
They
Because as Blackwell explains that Laney asks him, like, okay, so if Rez wants to, eat a sandwich, what happens? Well, somebody buys him a sandwich. I mean, a PA buys him a sandwich. It doesn't have anything to do with actual Rez. So he's kind of a black hole in the center of a bunch of information.
So Laney needs to meet him.
So, yeah, Laney needs some sort of personal level affect. And
the more we talk about it, the more is Laney's his powers are presented as almost magical powers. And you're right, it never really manifests as anything we can see.
You could make it you could make a very strong case like he's just a stalker trying to get close to Rez.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just a crazy person. On the other hand, this is the point at which we enter, we jump a book and a half. Laney explains his nodal thing to Arlie as involving processing low-level broad spectrum input, something to do with pattern recognition, which is Gibson's book of 2003, 2002, question mark. And this is the point at which it really clicks for me because I spend a lot of my summers working in pattern recognition. So pattern recognition is a very important thing in my life. Like pattern recognition is hugely important. And I at a visceral level understand what Laney is talking about, how a bigger picture can emerge from a bunch of nonsense fucking noise.
Yeah, I get it.
But maybe I'm also a crazy stalker.
Oh, maybe.
Anyway, I'll be seeing you next week, Keanu.
I can completely understand the idea behind his abilities. I can see how poring over somebody's data could give you almost like a supernatural feeling ability to predict what they're doing, what they're going to do next. I don't understand it the way they present it as nodal or whatever. That is kind of beyond me. But whatever. I can chalk it up to sci-fi shit, or I can chalk it up to Laney's craziness.
Yeah,
too. So
that's what I mean. Like if it were unambiguous that he was crazy, like that he was making all this up, if that was completely what was happening, that would be a very different story, and I think a less interesting one.
Yeah.
And if that hint weren't dangled out there, like if they didn't keep talking about the drug you took makes people become celebrity obsessed stalkers.
Insane. Yeah.
Right. Like if that weren't thrown out there as at least a possibility, like this would also be a way less interesting narrative. But the fact that there's a hint of that, even if you don't necessarily,
it's exactly like the is Deckard a replicant or not? He could be, he could not be. Take your pick. Doesn't matter. It's
the
more
answer
fun.
is so much less interesting than the conversation we can have about
it.
Yeah,
exactly. All right. That's enough of the conversation about it.
Okay. So then we get a little bit of the Blackwell backstory about how Rez went in to play a concert at an Australian prison, got taken hostage, and then Blackwell showed up with a tomahawk and was the coolest motherfucker ever.
Yeah.
And this is the point in my notes at which I write, make sure to recommend Chopper.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
He saved Rez's ass because he was really enjoying the concert he put on and was sad that it got interrupted.
Yeah, he very much enjoyed the concert. And,
here's another interesting parallel to a lesser work of cyberpunk with Stevenson's book. We're constantly told, like literally explicitly told, that Raven is a badass. He's the biggest badass. He's such a badass. Yada yada yada. No one ever says, "Hey, Keith Blackwell is a real badass."
We are definitely shown not told.
Yeah.
Everybody is just vaguely frightened, and then at a certain point the lights go out and we learn that he has extracted a lot of information from a Russian mobster.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
So, Chia and Masahiko.
We have 50 minutes.
Don't worry about it. We're fine. Turns out that people are waiting for them at Masahiko's place. It's the Combinat, who are the Russian mob, and I think this is their first appearance.
They were mentioned, but
were they? Okay,
yeah.
And they got a warning, and Masahiko got a warning from the walled city because Masahiko is responsible for some of the distributed processing, which is smart.
I don't want to tangent, but I wanted to bring this up when I read about it. Distributed processing is like, I don't know. It's like sci-fi authors fucking love it, or I don't know.
Yeah,
I've been watching Silicon Valley, and that's a big thing in it. Is everybody imagined this world where distributed processing was going to be a thing, and it never really has been.
No, it very much is. Yeah. Well, and also actually, the IRL dark web,
also true
in our world, like the Tor sites are distributed amongst people who are active on Tor.
Yep.
So that's one really good reason not to go on the dark web is you don't know what files are going on your machine.
Yeah, that's true.
Not viruses, but like there's a whole lot of really bleak shit on there. So
yeah,
there's bleak shit on the light web. All right,
also true. Okay, distributed processing. So
from this point forward in this podcast, I'm going to be like Bill Burr on that stand-up set in Philly, yelling out, 5 minutes left.
and I'm going to throw batteries at you.
Okay.
Okay, so they're not going to go back to Masahiko's place.
Yep.
And instead they meet Gomi Boy, one of Masahiko's friends,
Another
who
great
is also
character.
in the Walled City. Gomi Boy is fucking great. He drinks Pocari Sweat, which I have had Pocari Sweat a couple of times.
Tastes like sweat.
Exclusively because I have read this book too much.
I listened to his physical description twice. It's insane. It's like somebody out of Birth City, honestly.
It really is.
It really is.
But I'm pretty sure he described Crocs. He basically described Crocs before Crocs were a thing.
Oh, you're not wrong. I didn't even notice. Yeah.
And they're worn by a character named Trash Boy.
Yeah, Trash Boy. Gomi meaning trash in Japanese.
I love Gomi. I love how he exits the story, too. He's just like, oh, shit, I can get in trouble for this. Boink.
Yeah. He's like, yoink. So they meet Gomi Boy. And they kind of go through their options, figure out the only safe, quote marks, place to use the cash card that Chia has is a love hotel, because they go through some insane security shit, to prevent people from tracing when their spouses are having affairs, etc.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So, because she has this cash card from Kelsey.
And by the way, just incidentally, they are told about the Kombinat, the Russian mob, keeping an eye on them by their local Yakuza affiliates who are scared of the Russian mob.
Yeah.
Which is a real fucking background note on the Kombinat.
And Gumi Boy finds out all this because he pays off a local skateboard gang.
Yes, local,
which I believe
our
originally planned guest for these episodes, Radical Jim, I can't remember his name,
yes,
was a part of.
Rad Jason.
Rad Jason. Yes, that is correct. He was a member of them, but he had to abandon us to, I don't know, do whatever.
Yep.
Return to his
and
home
also
planet.
his wife and 3 children.
Yep.
Yep.
He's out there being radical. 44 minutes left.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So we get to a love hotel. And that is where Chia and Masahiko spend basically
The rest of the book. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because like half the book is Lainey's flashbacks and half the book takes place in a love hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Chia is she's like, all right, you got me once, Japanese elaborate toilets. You're not going to get me twice.
I love her relationship with toilets.
That's hilarious. And then she opens up the cabinet. She's like, oh, there's one normal cabinet in this bathroom. And she opens it up, and it's just full of elaborate dildos.
Including one that is dressed up in a kimono and tiny wig.
A wig and kimono, which she tries to pick it up, but the wig and kimono come off. And there's just a dildo with eyes and a mouth.
And then she knocks them all over, closes the cabinet, and washes her hands again.
She does the story of Everest knocking over thimbles.
Yes. R.I.P. Jay Johnson. We miss you.
Yeah.
He's dead, right?
He is.
He's
dead.
Died.
He died before January 6th.
Yes.
Oh, God. Okay. Finally caught the reference. Gotcha.
Yeah. So yeah, they go to a love hotel where they're going to spend the rest of the book and log in, whatever. Lainey, in the meantime,
has to go to dinner with Rez.
Has moved on to the Western World with Rez. The Western World is one of the bars, the very first clubs that opened up after the earthquake. It's seemingly made out of solidified piss.
Yeah.
Also another, like, this is one of the things that cracks me up is Lainey keeps getting bad. So first he starts out in a fucking literal Kafka-esque bar, like surrounded by bug parts. And then he goes to a bar that's
chewing gum bar.
Used chewing gum hunks. And he winds up in a bar that's made of piss.
Yeah.
Like,
the club scene in Tokyo is nuts.
This is a guy who, in his narrative, began the story in like real try-hard knockoff Brooks Brothers
Yeah.
shirts. And he is living in a world of piss now.
But it's hardened and it doesn't stink.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's hard. It doesn't stink. What
Don't
did they
ask
do
what
with
they did about the solids.
And it's
what did
also
they do with the solids?
really great
Who
world
knows?
building too. Like when the buildings came down, people had to piss, and they just rivers of piss formed down these damaged buildings.
I wrote in my notes, the Western world, a post-quake club with some beautiful and inexplicable descriptions.
Yeah. And a Sherman tank.
Yeah, also a Sherman
3D
tank.
printed replica of a Sherman
Yeah.
tank.
So Josh has played role-playing games with me before, and he knows that I love me a dinner party. And this is like the ultimate dinner party full of weirdos. And I loved this scene in the book quite a lot, actually.
Yeah. When Rei Toei is there
in the form of a thermos in
the digital flesh.
Yeah.
One cool note: the drummer for the band, who is blind but has glasses that replace his eyes, can't see her. She just looks like a big metal thermos to him.
Mm-hmm. Basically the cast of characters around this thing are a holographic vision of an AI.
Yes.
An entire rock band, includes pretty much the biggest rock band in the world, in this world. Lainey, our main character, the band's tech, and then a bunch of techs for the hologram as well.
Also Scooter and Blackwell.
And Scooter.
One tech and a couple of executives. I think that was the...
It's quite fun. They have a good conversation. Lainey cannot look at Rei Itoi because she fucks with his special eyes.
She herself seems to be a nodal point.
Right, which is strange considering he's not virtual.
She is an extremely information-dense hologram. And he keeps seeing what we later find out to be her most recent music video.
Yeah.
Like, he looks at her... Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, he's disappointed to find out, it's just a music video. But then he's talking to the tech team behind Rei Toei, and they are like, we don't make videos. Those are her dreams.
So he's looking at her and seeing her dreams, which is pretty fucking crazy.
Yeah, she is too information dense for him to directly perceive effectively.
Also, the first time he sees her, he has the sudden taste of rotten metal in his mouth.
Rotten metal in his mouth, yeah.
Also, he has several servings of that puffer fish that'll kill you.
Fugu, baby.
Yeah, another nice, like, this is a really comic note.
Yeah.
He's like, as long as I don't eat any fugu. And Arlie's like, you just had your second helping.
You just had it 3 times. What's wrong with you?
Lips a little numb?
Yeah.
He's has to focus on other things because the hologram lady is distracting.
Yeah.
Anyway, he has to go take a piss, and when he gets out, all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, suddenly somebody shows up in a tracksuit, and then the lights go out.
It's funny because when you first listen to this or read, as you people do, you're like, "Oh, this is some big conspiracy, like the Russians are trying to kill him or ransom him or something." And so this is just it's just a big misunderstanding.
Yeah, it's like it's like a Guy Ritchie movie.
Yeah.
It's very much what I wrote in my notes is that the Combinat tries to pull a Jack move, which is something that Chevette says in Virtual Light, and then again in All Tomorrow's Parties, where her former boyfriend liked to talk about pulling Jack moves, which is move lateral, do something fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for the Combinat, Blackwell is very prepared.
Yeah, he does not like to fuck around.
He hits a remote in his suit, and the lights go off, and then he goes to fucking work while everybody else panics and evacuates.
Yeah, thankfully the drummer's eyes could see, or his goggles or whatever he has.
He's got infrared. Yeah, can't see a hologram, but he can see in the dark. I'll take that trade-off.
Okay, great. So everybody escapes the club.
It blew up, by the way.
Except for one deeply unfortunate Russian
Yeah.
guy who
We don't
maybe
know
left
that he
the
didn't
club.
die,
He certainly didn't leave the club under his own power.
Yeah.
What was it? He made us sound like an animal in pain or something like that.
Sounds right. Yeah, Keith was deeply prepared for this eventuality.
Meanwhile, back on Chia's
back
side,
at the fuck hotel,
they're doing a lot of I don't know, info dumping kind of, because they're
doing a lot of moving.
Yeah.
They're pulling a lot of their own moves. So they get into the walled city. This is the first time she has been there. She finds out it is truly geographic, in that space means something, which is a really interesting contrast to what Stevenson does with the metaverse, where he pretends space means something, but there's way too much for it to actually matter.
Yeah.
And then we get an explanation of the history of the walled city. It's not actually explanatory at all. It's what I said earlier about a kill file turned inside out, which kill file, if you're familiar with Usenet stuff, means something, but barely. So
doesn't she also talk to Zona again?
Yes. So Chia heads to Zona's domain, but it is creepy and abandoned. There are no visible lizards and no visible condors, and something is stalking her through the bush, and she fucking bails immediately.
Real quick, it's fun to mention about Zona's little private nation, or whatever it is they call it, that how beautiful the sky is, because it was originally meant to demo. It's an aeronautics corporation. It was originally meant to demo planes, so they spent a lot of effort on the sky, and I just thought that was a cool little
I like that
way to describe something.
Yeah.
Oh, and it also it's a nice parallel with Neuromancer, which has like one of the most famous opening lines. And this was like, the sky was the color of a color swatch presented to a designer for approval, or something like that. Like,
and Rei Itoi comments on it later too, and she says, the place with the beautiful sky.
Yeah. So then Chia goes to her Venice, but the music master doesn't appear, which she doesn't notice until she had walked across a few bridges. And then an unfamiliar figure appears in the distance, and she fucking pulls the headset off because she's terrified.
And also she hears someone say out in real life, hey,
yeah. And it turns out that Mary Alice is in the Love Hotel room with her and a gun.
Making this a perfect comedy.
Yes, exactly.
Except she pulls the trigger instantly. She pulls the trigger on the gun, and it's a lighter.
It did get me the first read through. It got me. I was like, "Oh shit, she's shooting."
Yeah, it's honestly great. Mary Ellis explains everything very sadly.
Yeah,
like I
poor
love
wonderful
Mary
Mary
Ellis. She is the sort of mirror image of Chevette from Virtual Light, and like just a girl trying to get along. She's also a version of fucking Mona
very
Lisa.
similar to Mona. If Mona hadn't lucked into what she lucked into.
Yeah, just shitbag boyfriend. I mean, yeah, it's hilarious. So it turns out the contraband is a nanotechnology factory, sort of. It'll program nanobots, and the Commandant really want it bad. And Mary Alice got there to the hotel before everybody else because she's way smarter than she seems. Yeah. She knows somebody at the cab company. I mean, she's not a fucking idiot, for Christ's sake.
And she knows her way around love hotels, which she says with kind of regret in her voice.
Yep.
Yeah. And here's the thing: we're in bad shape because you can't just give the items to the You can't just give the nanotech thing to the Russians because, even knowing about it will get them killed. So where the fuck are we now?
I don't know. Let's go back online.
She's getting fucking drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do the two things we do best. You get drunk. Me, I'm going on the internet.
But no, don't get drunk because you're costing us half an hour at a time every time you open up an airline bottle.
Also goddamn true.
That's where Gumi Boy makes his reappearance.
Yeah. Laney and the tech crew make it back to the hotel, and they're waiting for Blackwell to arrive. And it turns out that Blackwell says, it turns out the Commandant was after something they thought had been stolen from him, ? Nobody knows what the fuck this means. So Laney ends up going back to his own hotel room. And weirdly, turns out that Kathy's there.
Also,
And
it's worth pointing out, Laney's fucked up. Like,
yeah,
he got hurt.
Laney's also been beat to shit.
He got blowed up real bad.
Yeah. He is not in great shape. So, he's in his room. Kathy Torrance is there, and she is watching a very vigorous fuck tape of Laney. And here's where we enter William Gibson discovering deep fakes 20 years before they existed.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, like we said before, it was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Also, she gave him a huge dong, and he says, "That's not me." And she says, "I know, he's way too big. I'd love to see you try to prove it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I would call that bluff, personally. To get out of being blackmailed, I'd be like, let's take a look at this thing, and that can't be me.
Yeah. It turns out the victim in this fuck tape is the daughter of the actor.
Yeah, I don't like this.
Yeah, that is the daughter of the actor that Alison Shires had been having the affair with. This daughter is trying to get her big break.
Let's be honest, the only real bad guy in this book is Slitscan and Kathy. Like, even the Combinat is...
You're not wrong.
Eddie's a scumbag, but he's not, like, evil. Well, he does beat the shit out of Mary Ellis, which is pretty bad, but he's not, like, malevolently evil like Slitscan.
Yeah. It's
Slit or Slip?
Slit.
Okay,
Slit.
that's what I thought.
Yeah, it's a photography thing.
I think it's also a euphemism thing.
Also
a double entendre thing.
It seems like it.
This very much prefigures. It turns out the girl who is in the video with the Laney double ? Is the daughter of the actor that he had auditioned researching, or who had been with Alison Shires.
It's the
and she is interested in getting her quote big break, which 10 years ahead of time prefigured the Paris Hilton Kim Kardashian thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Of, hey, suddenly you've got a sex tape, so you're very famous.
I mean, also though, to be fair, about 40 years after Nancy Reagan.
No, that's true. Gluck 9000.
I mean,
baby.
Sex tapes have, I don't know. I can't think of any that have been as effective as Kim Kardashian's.
Yeah. So anyway, Kathy basically says, either you'll go to jail over this, what is apparently a very vigorous sexual assault on video, or you will spy on and eventually set up res for Slitscan, and the tape will go away. And Lady's like,
I like how it doesn't seem like he ever really entertained the idea of it working. Like he never really was gonna tell on res to them.
Yeah,
he was just gonna go someplace where people didn't watch TV.
Right. If you
Good
can find
luck, bro.
Yeah.
Chia and Masiko meet with the Etruscan,
The leader
which
of the
is
walled city.
I
They don't have
think
leaders.
that's
They're an egalitarian commune.
Exactly.
Is he an AI? Or
Who cares?
No, I think he's a hacker with an irritating hacker with a persona.
I assume it's probably one of the same fucking hackers from Virtual Light who appeared as a mountain at that point.
yeah, that's possible.
And is now a fucking centipede.
I like him either way. He's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Etruscan rules. So we get a bunch of walled city backstory, and at this point in my notes I wrote, the dream of the 90s internet is alive.
Yeah.
Because it's the 90s internet turned into the deep web.
Yeah.
And so then...
Oh, and Zona's there, by the way. Zona's in.
Yeah, Zona is there, and Chia explains to Zona that she got scared away from both Zona's country and her own music master, Venice, by an unknown presence. So she takes Zona into Venice to see what'll happen with the music master. And the music master approaches, bringing winter in its wake. Suddenly snow starts falling in Venice and all sorts of crazy bullshit happens. And it turns out it's Rei Toi. And
Idoru.
The Idoru.
Or Idoru.
Idoru?
Yeah.
The Idoru.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So she interacts with Rei Toi. And then at the same time, see, this is like how novels work. You integrate two different viewpoints into the same thing. At this point, Lainey gets taken down to a van where they have figured out, what if we work in the fan club data to the corporate data that you had already accessed about Rez? Maybe that'll create the full person.
Oh, it's Yamazaki that comes up with that idea, by the way.
Yeah, it's Yamazaki.
Shout out to my boy Scooter.
Who is not a fucking idiot. So they do that.
And they kind of have a simultaneous meeting.
Yeah. So it ends up being kind of a getting to know you thing. Rei Toi is a creature of the net. Like, she has been created out of the desires of people, and therefore, like, being part of the popular net and processing is not part of the walled city, but really wants to.
Yeah.
Because she knows there's something outside her perception. And it's at this point that Lainey figures out that, like, oh shit, Rez is actually a person with this data integrated. And also he gets sucked into Rei Toi bullshit. Fucking Mongolian ponies, etc. Right? It turns out that Kuyama, who is Rei's creator, his goal is futurity, and trying to create an evolving mechanism or evolving organism that stays at the forefront of the net / reality. And he has pulled Rei from that. Does that make sense?
No.
Jesus Christ. I'm getting into the
I don't
mud.
think it matters. Like,
doesn't matter.
There is a lot of philosophizing on the concept of the Idoru, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter to the story. It is what you want to make of it. So,
yeah. Okay. So Chia gets physically pulled out of her interactions with Rei Toi, in that the goggles are pulled off her head. Turns out that Eddie is in the room. He tasers Masahiko.
Really rudely. Masahiko's not doing nothing wrong.
Yeah. And Masahiko's not doing anything wrong. And Mary Alice is passed out on the bed because she got drunk off the fucking mini bar. God damn it.
Yeah.
There's also a Russian guy.
Yevgeny.
Possibly funniest character in the book.
Arguably, yeah. Mary Alice wakes up points her gun at Eddie and the Russian. Monologues about bad boyfriends, which could be the monologue given to, I don't know, like at least 50% of Gibson viewpoint female characters. Probably more.
Simultaneous to this, Lainey is figuring out that the nanotech box is what Rei Itoi and Rez are after,
Yes.
and that this is where it's all going to come down.
Yep.
Correct. Although we don't quite understand that until a chapter or two later.
Yeah.
When Mary Alice points the cigarette lighter gun at Eddie, he drops the taser because he thinks it's an actual gun.
She pulls the fucking trigger.
Yeah, she gets so heated into it that if it had been a gun, she would have blown Eddie's head off.
Yeah.
He squeals like a little bitch.
He does.
Yeah, it's a really good monologue that I would love for like half of Gibson's female protagonists to have given.
Yeah. Mona would have definitely deserved to give that to her Eddie.
Yeah.
That guy was
but he got it worse than Eddie. Let's be honest.
She fires. The lighter clicks. And then Eddie starts punching her in the face.
Well, I do think that Chia had the proper counter response, which is tase the shit out of the asshole punching Mary Alice. I also love Yevgeny is like, the whole time, Yevgeny's like, this girl is this Chia, she's a super spy operative. And everybody's like, no, she's just a girl. We're playing her. And he's like, oh, yeah? She's got Mary Alice knocked out in this love hotel. She's a spy.
Everything did kind of back up that thought.
Yeah, I mean, he's not stupid. He's just
reading the clues.
He's just wrong at the wrong end of the information spectrum.
Yeah.
Chia tases the shit out of Eddie and subsequently Mary Alice. Then the Russian, who had retreated into the bathroom because of the gun pointed at him, which was actually a lighter, he starts trying to get out. Chia starts zapping the door handle over and over again.
Because she's fucked with tasers before in school.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, anyway, we go back to Lainey, and we have a fun discussion of, like, what's an AI, really?
Yeah.
Right?
Not that has any relevance to the present day.
No, not at all. It definitely has nothing to do with, just fucking chatbots responding with what they think you'll want to hear. But he does have a very cool flashback to the courthouse steps in Jacksonville. Is that right? Which ties us back to the Neuromancer Sprawl Trilogy.
His French friend. Yeah.
Well, I assume Haitian. But
the French accent on the...
Yeah. So a bunch of voodoo offerings on courthouse steps when they were cleaning stuff up at the orphanage. A fucking goat head with a bunch of nails in it, etc.
Yeah.
Oh, and he's talking about the names of the voodoo pantheon, which nice little
Sam Eddie, Ogun. It's very fun if you're thinking about the Sprawl Trilogy and how that works out.
And how it would sound to a kid from Gainesville who'd never heard of...
Why would you know what fucking Sam Eddie looks like? Yeah. So he ends up in a conversation with Ray, and then flashes to some data, and Ray is there, as are the nodal points, and he in the data sees Eddie's boots and the assembler from Chia's goggles, the nanotech assembler, which is I don't remember. I'm trying to think. Shit. Sorry, I lost my highlight here.
A MacGuffin.
A Rodel Van Erp primary biomolecular programming module C/7A.
Yes, C/7A. That was a thing I remembered, but I can't find it on my Kindle.
Elodium Q-37 explosive space modulator.
Sure, that. And Ray says that she doesn't know what the fuck that is, but she tells Lainey that it's important and you got to get to the fucking hotel for the wedding.
Yeah.
Because the wedding's going to happen. What's the wedding? We don't know.
Well, and then he pops back into meat space and finds out via the drummer who I can't Juno
Blind Willie Jude.
Blind Willie Jude.
Juno. He lets them know that it just came across the news that Rez is dead, man.
Rez is dead, man, in a love hotel.
In room 17.
Yeah, it's going to be very cool and normal to go there. So they go. It's a fun trip. It says a weird amount of Japanese society about how...
yeah, I definitely took it as commentary on Japanese society.
Yeah.
And how the vehicle has an alarm that goes off when you go over the speed limit. And Lady's like, why don't they just disable it? And
Yamazaki.
Scooter goes, why would they do that?
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't you want to know you were going over the speed limit and be alerted that you are breaking the law? Sure. So we cut back to the Love Hotel.
This part's fun. This is when
this is where everything
and Blackwell barge into the room, right?
Yes.
Before that, the Russian comes uses a dildo as an insulator to get out of the bathroom.
Not a dildo, a
love
some sort
glove
of
or something.
French tickler love
Some
glove,
sort of pocket pussy situation.
Yeah. Pretty clever.
He's a smart guy.
I also love Masahiko tried to do an anime move and hold the door shut against the Russian, but his sweaty hands slipped off the doorknob and he fell on his ass.
Yeah.
And then Chio was the one who actually saved the day by zapping the Russian through the doorknob.
Yeah. And
Masahiko's trying so hard to be cool.
Look, he's doing his fucking best out there. He's just a goddamn dork.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're an otaku, brother.
He's an otaku. You gotta just accept it and deal with it.
He's a 15-year-old me.
Yeah. So they're grabbing their stuff to run. The Russian's about to break out of the hall, or out of the bathroom, and he does so. And he then monologues for a hot second about how they don't like accidents.
Well, this humanized the Russian.
Yeah, you're really just a fan club member or something? I don't know. That doesn't seem real to me.
Yeah.
He's like, he doesn't say it specifically, but I think she sees it from his expression that he doesn't want to kill them, but he has to.
Yeah.
Because that's his fucking job. And it humanizes it's
he really does. Yeah.
Yevgeny, late addition, not a lot of screen time, but an interesting little character Gibson throws in on us.
Yeah, he really is. And then just as Yevgeny is about to absolutely kill Masahiko and Chia, then Blackwell arrives like a nightmare out of myth.
And suddenly the most imposing guy in the room, Yevgeny, is not imposing at all anymore.
Blackwell flows through the doorway holding a tomahawk bigger than any human. Like it's truly an it's one of the things where you read it and go, wow, William Gibson could write serious hardcore fantasy bullshit where some giant barbarian is holding a sword, but really it's just a real piece of shit Australian holding a fucking hatchet. And scares the shit out of everybody.
Except Rez, who just his BFF.
Yeah, and Rez is
who calls this graceful yet deadly man mountain Keefe.
Yeah, Keefe. I love their nicknames for Keefe and Raza.
Yeah.
I do ship these two.
I also love when he shows up, the Russian just goes, "Yob tvoyu mat,"
Yeah.
softly to himself, but
My
Blackwell's
mother?
response is to go, "My mother delighted."
Yeah.
Did you say my mother?
He is excited.
And then the
to
Russian goes,
start
"No.
murdering.
Figure of speech.
Figure of speech. Yeah. I think this is it's entirely possible this book is where I first learned Yob tvoyu mat. Yeah, so Keith and Rez show up. The Russian, it turns out, is not actually very excited to fight when a giant dude with a tomahawk arrives in the room. And Rez is here because the medium of he and Ray's wedding is also in the room.
And she's apparently directing him here through some headband.
Yeah, there's a monocle on a headband.
Yeah.
So they do a little business. And a huge amount of fans gather outside for the funeral, which, if you at all remember the I don't want to say funeral, but gathering of fans of Kurt Cobain in 1994.
Yeah, I was thinking Princess Di, but
yeah, that would be, yeah.
Especially since they're in the hotel die.
Yeah. Oh shit.
What year did she die?
98.
Okay. That's just a coincidence.
He's prescient once more.
Yeah.
Once more. Okay. So they Rez and Yevgeny and everybody does a bit of business.
I like this part. I don't know.
I like how this is weirdly
non-violent solution to a. It's just so not what you expect. How you expect a story like this to resolve after what we've been kind of used to.
Yeah, it's especially when you consider, again, as we mentioned at the beginning, this means nothing to the world.
Yeah,
this is important to a couple of Commandant guys, some like hardcore fans of this fucking rock band and that's about it.
I love Blackwell has been set up through the entire book as the ultimate badass. He's gonna come in.
He is a murder genius
and save the day. And then what actually happens is a real estate transaction.
Yeah, he kicks a door down for somebody to sign a few contracts.
Well, it's like you were talking about off air, Geoff, with the real badass doesn't need to beat a bunch of people to death or kill them. Just being in the room is enough. True. And that's all Blackwell has to do is just be in the room. Oh, he's truly the king of the henchmen.
Yeah, he is Blackwell. I love him so much. Like I said earlier, he is somebody I wish I was, but really I'm much more of a Laney.
And I'm much more of a Rez.
God, you wish you were that out of it. So, anyway, a real estate deal goes down.
Yeah,
because that's how a cyberpunk book ends.
Some fucking earthquake trash in the bay that's being turned into an island is traded for the device, and that problem is solved.
It turns out that Zona called the fans because she saw what was happening through Chia's iPhones. Zona blew up her own spot, absolutely fucking destroyed the Tokyo fan club site with her fucking switchblade and her condors and whatever. And basically posted a giant fake news piece of business about how Rez had died. And
everybody needs to get to the hotel immediately.
Yeah, and this is Zona saving Chia by sacrificing herself in a very real and emotional way.
Yeah.
Because we are informed by Rei Toei, I can't remember her name, how like what Sona's actual story is, and she's actually like a disfigured girl that doesn't have a gang in Mexico City. She's just disabled and spends all her time online.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like she has some kind of motor neuron disease, I think.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
can't move. Like she can only
She
get
can
around
only
online.
exist in line. Yeah.
So she's sacrificed basically her truest self
Yeah.
in order to save Chia.
And that Chia is informed that she wouldn't want Chia to come looking for her, basically.
Yeah.
Which is sad, and it makes Chia very sad. But I think Arlie, then when we're kind of mixing the chapters up a little bit, but
Yeah.
Arlie points out that she will probably, like, you will probably make a new friend that's very similar to her and that knows you as well as she did in the near future. And it'd be best if you didn't point any of that out, but just be happy with that. Like, you guys are close. You're going to make a new friend soon. That's pretty much going to be the same person.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a cool way to wrap up the Rosa story.
She was a true scrapper, a real badass.
Yeah.
Yeah,
she
definitely.
went fucking hard in the paint.
Yep.
Yeah. She wasn't.
I love too, like Blackwell, like during the negotiations with the Russian mob, he's like, Rez, you can't. It's the Russian mob. You can't do business. And Rez is like, yeah, they're basically the government. We've dealt with governments
Yeah.
before.
Come on.
We've got all the money in the world. Surely we can buy our way out of this. And they did.
And they kind of did. Yeah. Then we get into, kind of final chapters thing. Really Keith's element. Lainey explains to him that Kathy was trying to blackmail him. And Blackwell basically cracks his knuckles and says, "This sounds like a good time. Let me negotiate with her."
What a fantastic scene, too. It happens while they're eating breakfast.
Yeah.
Lainey isn't hungry. Obviously, he's been through a lot of bullshit. And Blackwell's wolfing down eggs and bacon.
Down fucking fuck those little frozen but thawed omelets that you get at a fucking Hilton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, he decides he's going to take care of Lainey's little problem, which is, like we said, Kathy is the only truly evil person in this story,
Yeah.
other than maybe Eddie, who's more scumbag evil.
Yeah,
And
Blackwell wants Lainey to stay within the apparatus. Lainey has explained he can't because Kathy's going to blackmail him. And then Blackwell explains that he'll come to terms with Kathy Torrance.
So when Blackwell leaves, he leaves his patented calling card of a roofing nail sitting upright in the middle of his plate, which makes me wonder, was he prepared to use that on Lainey if Lainey didn't agree to join the organization? Is that the threat? Or is the threat just like, hey, remember, I'm the nail guy?
Remember, I nail people's hands to bars.
Either way.
Or
I prefer to think of it as the latter, being that arguably Blackwell is the most honest character in possibly any Gibson book. Like, he has a very limited list of wants and needs.
Yeah.
I think it's his way of reassuring Lainey by saying,
Remember.
something very awful is about to happen to these people that are trying to blackmail you, and I am letting you know this in a legally and plausibly deniable way.
Yeah.
Fully deniable.
That's fair.
Lainey
Lainey also meets the lawyer, who I believe is from Virtual Light.
Yeah, Aaron Persley. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was early on.
That was Reese something.
Rice Daniels was the producer.
Okay.
He was the guy from Cops in Trouble.
Yeah.
Right.
He was,
okay. That's the name that's familiar.
Yep.
Anyway.
Aaron Persley was also in Virtual Light. Well, I'm just a simple country lawyer.
Yeah, he always presented to me as fucking shit. What's the name of that goddamn cartoon rooster? I say.
Foghorn Leghorn.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, I did want to mention, as a result of Zona Rosa blowing herself up and spreading the rumor of Rez's death, the parking lot was full of young girls who were fans, all holding candles, and Lainey to get to the hotel.
Yeah.
After the fact, by the way, the supposed protagonist arrives after everything is fine.
Yeah.
And they have to drive slowly through a quietly weeping crowd of teen girls holding candles silently, stepping away from the van. Like, it would be creepy if it weren't so hilarious. It's really good.
Yeah, I wrote in my notes that Zona metaphorically blew herself up to save Chia, like in suicide bomber sense, and that Zona was a hero greater than the 9/11 heroes for setting all of that up. Like, she decided to take her fucking, outlawed switchblade and destroy the Tokyo chapter website just to save fucking Chia Pet Mackenzie's goddamn life.
One more thing I wanted to touch on, because I think it's an important theme of the book that we kind of glossed over, is once Chia had met Rez, like a lot of the shine had worn off of her idol. And she comments on this as she's like driving out through all these fans, and she was like, they're, I don't know, kind of coming to realize that the parasocial relationship is bullshit, and that there's a lot of stuff that goes on that you don't see, and some of it's crazy and some of it's boring. And I think she's not going to be as big a fan of really anything anymore going forward. And maybe that's the moral of the story.
The epilogue.
She'd looked out the window and seen the faces as the van inched away, none of them knowing that was Rez hunched down in there under a jacket, but maybe sensing it somehow. And something in Chia letting her know she'd never quite be like that again, never as comfortably a face in that crowd. Because now she knew there were rooms that they never saw or even dreamed of, where crazy things or even just boring things happened. And that was where the stars came from. And it was something like that worried her now when she thought of Rez coming to see her. That and how he really was her mother's age.
Yeah, once again, good writing of a child too, because now
she's grown up.
Yeah.
She's grown up just a little bit and realizing that she's doing it as she's doing it.
Yeah. At the very epilogue of the book, Chia is now a regular denizen of the walled city, hanging out with the Etruscan. Interestingly, the walled city is being constructed in nanotechnology form on an island of Gomi in Tokyo Bay, like probably right next to
the Russian island,
which
is a gated suburb, I guess.
Yeah, with definitely not a drug factory involved.
A very exclusive gated community.
I love Yevgeny.
I am so excited to I love this book so much, especially I think probably the reason that this book gets a lot of name recognition from you, Eric, is that Blackwell is such an indelible character that I tried to integrate his nonsense bullshit into a ton of shit that I did. But I am so fucking hype to, in the future, read All Tomorrow's Parties.
Oh, man.
It's
it's such a good book.
It really is. Look, I love this book.
Can't say anything else.
Yeah, I can't. But I'm very excited to read it again at some point in the near future, and hopefully have Geoff back as a guest.
Yeah.
Well, I think
he's got that much time in his fucking future.
I think you're going to need me to keep this tight ship in the in the lanes.
Keep us to a tight
episodes. These episodes are so long, and I apologize for that. I'm going to try to see what I can.
Good luck, asshole.
We did fail to mention that at the end of the book, Lainey and Arlie hooked up.
Oh,
yeah, that's true.
Oh man, I also failed to mention. So one bit of objectification of women happens purely through the lens of Lainey's eye. He's a leg man. He always.
He is a leg man.
True. Yeah.
He's horn dogging on Kathy's tattoo on her thigh, and then on the stockings that Arlie's wearing, and Arlie so egregiously that Arlie calls him out on it. She says, "Oh yeah, they're Catalan. They're woven into the stockings."
Yeah.
Is there anything else worth saying? What's the overall thing of the book? Celebrities, a double-edged sword? I don't know.
Sure.
No, it doesn't. I mean, it's celebrity is fine for the celebrities. It is the toxicity of the relationship that everyone else projects onto them.
Yeah,
that is the trouble. Like Rez is completely Rez can go waltzing into a maximum security prison and then just dance right back out again.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's why he's the hero of the story.
The thing is, and maybe this is why this is my first or second most read Gibson book. Being a teenager is hard. Like your brain is stupid.
Yeah.
Right?
It's just only partially formed and inexperienced.
Yeah. I think that's a big part of it. I mean,
he does a great job of like characterizing that.
Yeah.
All right. Don't be a teenager if you can avoid it.
Yeah, if you can skip that part, go ahead.
12
to it.
Right to 20.
If you are under the age of, if you are 11 or under, be a teenager for about, I don't know, I'd say 5, 6, 7 years, somewhere in there, and then be a 20-year-old. That's my advice.
Seems
It's
good.
pretty good advice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks, Geoff, for being here.
Hey, we got to do that. We got to do that irritating fucking rating thing that you keep bringing up.
Oh yeah.
Otherwise, you'll bring it up next week.
That's true. All right. Let's do this rating. Story.
The first.
What do you think?
So your rating scale. The first few are like 1 to 10, and then the last one is 5.
Yeah.
Yes,
because
it makes perfect sense. That's which is why you just stated it perfectly.
I think I'm going to go 9 on story because it is an inversion of the story you expect it to be. It's a subversion of a whole bunch of tropes. It's really deftly written, but in a way that detracts from like your consciousness of the writing process. It's a great read, an effortless read, but masterfully crafted.
It does an incredible fucking dodge of being overwritten.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely 9.
You going 9, Josh?
Yeah.
I've kind of figured you go 10. You did give Virtual Light a 10. Do you think the story of Virtual Light better?
I think I like Virtual Light a little more, and All Tomorrow's Parties a little more than Idoru.
Yeah, I love Idoru very much, but yeah.
Well, I'm gonna give it a 10. Fuck you guys.
Oh,
fair enough.
Shit.
I'm not gonna fight that. I mean, I might choke you while we're on our way to Tennessee, but whatever.
I'll probably be driving, so I would recommend at least wait till we're on a bathroom break.
Eric,
Yeah,
watch out, man. He keeps hammers in his car.
Yes. I will probably have one in there too.
Good point.
Influence.
I don't know.
I don't know. That's a tough one, man.
You already mentioned that this wasn't one of the better sellers.
I think it was a little more overlooked. Like the finale, All Tomorrow's Parties, was really well received and did really well, but this one sort of, I think, just kind of like people read Gibson when a new Gibson novel comes out, but it wasn't like a global sensation or anything.
I honestly can't say. I don't feel qualified to speak on the influence. I haven't heard of much, so I'm feeling a 5.
Yeah.
Because that's where we usually go when something obviously has some, but we can't necessarily nail it down.
I think that's probably where I'll go. Simply because, like, I think this has had a huge effect on me, but the number of people that I have heard talk about Idoru independently are possibly limited to Geoff. Like, there's not a lot. This doesn't come up a ton, if that makes sense.
Like, Gibson didn't come up with the idea of like a virtual pop star that kind of already existed in anime.
It was already a thing.
So
I didn't, because we're not trying to make this a 19-hour show. I did do some research on virtual pop stars, but
well, there's some probably anime,
yeah,
that we might be watching in the future. Do you think 5, Geoff?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Like, I would be willing to hear an argument to go higher or lower.
Yeah. Now, I just can't evaluate. Like, there's nobody was named Rei Toei outside of the universe.
Yeah,
right. We did give Virtual Light slightly higher. We went 7s and 8s on that one, but I would say this maybe even maybe less than that. I don't know.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. That's a stupid category.
This whole thing is stupid. Go ahead. Let's keep doing it.
The prescience one is fun because he nailed so many things.
Prescience 10 out of 10. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. I don't think that's even arguable. And style, similarly, I believe it was pretty stylish. I'm going to go 8. That's what I gave Virtual Light.
I will go a solid 8.5, if only because I have always admired Keith Blackwell's interest in micropore tomahawks and dusters.
Yeah,
and I'd give it a 9. Honestly, like you got Death Cube K.
Oh, actually, yeah. Okay, I'll go 9 because of Keith, Death Cube K, and also the fact that Rei Toei's video that they describe reminds me of the cover of Bjork's Homogenic album.
I'm raising mine to 9 too. I just realized I kind of count the setting as part of the style, and I love the setting so much. So yeah, I think we're just going 9s across the board there.
All right.
And then lastly, 1 to 5 hand raisers.
5.
Sure, fair. I agree.
I can't go any less than that. It's
great book.
Beautiful.
I love it.
Yeah, I liked it too.
Well, thanks for having me on, guys.
Thank you so much for being on. I look forward to wrangling you into all tomorrow's parties. I also look forward
for the record. The audiobook I listened to this on the speed I listened to it is 5.5 hours. So,
wow.
Fuck you, incompetent narrator of the audiobook that Eric listened to.
Thanks for being on, Geoff. Plug your stuff. By the time they finish listening to this, Astronomica is over, so there's no point in plugging that.
Almost certainly, but if somehow you listen to this on like 2x, come to Astronomica.
If you are in the Memphis, Tennessee area, head north on Highway 51 till you get to Shelby Meeman State Park and look for the Pearsall Group Camp, where we will be on August 28th through September 1st. It is free to participate and lodge and dine, but you have to get yourself there. That's the only thing that matters.
I once again thank you guys. Join our Patreon if you want, but not through the app.
No,
you can still do it through the app on Android.
Yeah, the Android app is fine, just not the Apple app. Next week's Free Jack.
Yeah, Free Jack. Fucking Mick Jagger, Emilio Estevez.
We've already done that.
Yeah,
we need a sign out.
That'd be great.
Chinga tu madre.
Oh, very nice.
Y tu mama también.
This has been the High Tech Low Life podcast. Find us on Twitter at Johnny60seconds, email us at hightechlowlifepodcast@gmail.com, and find us on Patreon at patreon.com/hightechlowlife. Theme music by Nihilor at nihilor.com. Thank you for listening.
Keep it moving. Come on, what are you waiting on? Let's go.
They're trashing our rights, man! They're trashing the fluid data! They're trashing! Hype the planet! Hype the planet!
Shut up and get in the car.
Shit, did I go on like a 5-minute tangent for no reason?
It was a pretty long tangent.
Man, it's a shame you have only a superficial passing fondness for William Gibson.